Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Rowdy Hour, episode 6. And today we have one of my great friends, another great friend, that dude Dev. Dev, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, my man. How you doing yourself?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people who maybe don't know, what you're about, what your content's about. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the folks out there.
Yeah, no, I am exactly what you just said. I am that dude, Dev. I have been a content creator here for 4 going on 5 years, primarily in the sports world. But we are looking to maybe dabble in a couple other places this year. 2024, a year opportunity, year of choices and chances. You know what I'm saying? The things that you can control. Father and a husband first and foremost, and being a dad is really truthfully what it's all about. And then outside of content creation, I am a small business owner too. I run a entertainment company that helps facilitate all of your entertainment needs for private events, corporate events, primarily weddings. I used to be able to just say within the Chicagoland area, but now we're nationwide. We're nationwide, soon to be worldwide. So
Worldwide Dev. I like the sound of that, man. I like the sound of
yeah.
that. So I like to ask everybody kind of like the first question I like to ask everyone that comes on here. How did you discover content creation, Dev? Because I think everyone's story is always unique and different. Everyone's got different ways that they found it. So how did you come about content creation in the streaming world?
So I had an acquaintance that knew that I was pretty solid at Madden. And at the time he kind of was in playing the whole Fortnite when Fortnite really kind of blew up about 4 or 5 years ago. He was already actually on Twitch doing the thing. And he was like, "Hey man, you should check it out," like yada yada yada. And then I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of cool." Like people just kind of watching you and vibing and the community aspect. He's like, "Bro, you should do it for Madden. Like you're really good at Madden." And I think people would kind of enjoy the way that you break down the game and look at things differently and, X, Y, and Z. So we threw up a couple streams on the console first before we ever thought about getting into, the PC land. And then I remember that winter went ahead and built my first PC and my guy Pop, actually Popular Stranger, I'll never forget it. It was random evening. I just decided to fire up after work, and Popular Stranger hit me with a raid. And that's really what helped kind of set the foundation of the channel. I met about, 4 or 5 people in that raid, and we started kicking it. And, now you got the BRE and we got the SGP. So it's kind of just grew from that.
Now, when you built your first PC, was that your first ever computer you ever built?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
All right.
I ain't really
I got a
dabbed like
question
that.
because I had my friends help me build mine, right? On a
Hmm.
scale of like 1 to 10, right? One being like, ah, nah, I got this. Like 10 being like, listen, I'm gonna have to use the bathroom every 10 minutes because my bowels is moving and I'm nervous. How nervous were you to build that thing? Be honest with me, because I'm terrified to touch mine, like even to clean it.
So when it was that very first time, it's probably like a 5. I'd probably right there because I had found a really, really like thorough and instructional YouTube video. So I really was just like watched a portion of the video, paused it, and then like did it, right? Watched the portion, paused it, and then did it. So it took me a full like what people building computers now, 2, 3 hours. It took me like no bull, like a solid 12 to 16 hours to build this computer because I didn't really know and just trying to get everything together. Um and I remember the first time I went to go boot it up and it didn't boot up, and I was like, "Oh no, like what did I miss now?" But now I've done it, twice. I've actually done it twice. So now it's like once you've done it those 2 times, it's like, all right, whatever. Like I can figure most of this out now because it doesn't like the cool thing about computers, at least at this point, is it doesn't change, right? Everything's got a motherboard, everything's got RAM, everything's got a graphics card, PCI slots, USB ports. You know what I'm saying? So like now it's just you once you know it and like know what to look for, I could almost build one without really even having to look at any instructions or anything.
I feel like almost everybody's like computer doesn't turn on its first try. Like if you're building one for the first time by yourself,
Yeah.
mine didn't, and we was up to like 3 a.m. and we like went to turn that thing on and it didn't turn on. And I said, I was looking at it, I'm like, man, this like $1,400 right here. I was like, I'm gonna need this thing to start, man, because like what I'm looking at, it was the savings and then some. And I'm like, we about to be if this thing don't start, I'm gonna be in problems. So I woke up at 7 a.m. the next morning, went to the nearest computer shop. He's like, yeah, your power supply ain't plugged in. And I ain't gonna lie, I sat there and like I've never been more embarrassed in my life, bro. He played that thing in and it started, and he looked at me and I went, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is,
Appreciate you,
man.
dog.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I said
appreciate you,
appreciate.
dog.
I said appreciate you, man. I walked out the door with my PC. I ain't even say nothing. I was like,
Yep,
appreciate you,
yep,
bro. I'll see you never.
yep, yep, for sure. Yeah. No, I definitely remember it was me. It was definitely a late night, and it was funny because Riley was really just 2 months old, a month or two old at this point. Riley might not even, Riley was here because I think I built it in November. So Riley would have been here. So forget 2 months. She might have been like 2 or 3 weeks old. I remember building this thing and Riley was like super little. So yeah, it was all cool, man. It was all good.
So you mentioned your daughter. How old was Riley when you started content creation?
She has been a part of because she just turned 5. So she was a little under 1. So probably somewhere between like 10, 11 months, something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, she obviously didn't really like understand it like then. Which does she understand it kind of like better now? Like what her dad's doing sometimes. Like whenever she walks
Yeah.
in, sometimes and sees you like with the cameras and the lights and all that stuff.
She does, yeah. So she knows that daddy's going to work. Daddy's going to, because if I stay at home, she knows daddy's going to work, in his studio, But if I'm going out, she knows daddy's going to work to make the people dance. And it's very nice, actually.
Okay,
So
so
yeah,
she
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 does. She
knows like
gets
you're
it.
a DJ and like everything like that. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like just seeing like that because I know a lot of parents talk about that. Like normally like they'll start something and their kids don't realize what they're doing, and then but like as their kids get older, they kind of start to realize like what they're doing. And I thought that's always like cool, because like you kind of get to you're seeing them like realize more and more like what you're doing, and a lot of times like they're like, "Yo, this is so cool! What my parent is doing out here."
She does understand how cool it is because I want to say a couple weeks ago. A couple weeks ago, there was an event or a festival or something like that. Um, oh, I know what it was. Total dad story. But we were in the car. She saw a fire truck, but the fire truck didn't have their like sirens or anything like that on, so they were just like out and about. And she goes, "Where's the fire truck going, Daddy? There's no fire." And I go, "Well, they could just be getting gas. They could just be running an event or whatever." And she goes, "Oh, well, that event must not be very good because you're not there." I was like, "Oh, okay, Roger." So yeah, she has a full grasp of what it is that I do. So
Oh, that's cool. So what's the balance like being like a DJ and like a content creator? Like, you technically have two businesses, right? With that. Like what's that time like being able to try to balance both of those and then obviously, being a, full-time dad and having a daughter and everything like that.
it's become a little bit easier now, because she's in school. But like those first couple of years where like she wasn't in school, it was wild. It really was because like days were just going, right? Like I would have not known what day it was if I didn't have a calendar and a watch. You know what I'm saying? Now it's a little bit better though. So right, we have routine. Everything in our house is balanced by routines. So my wife and daughter are basically out of the house for pretty much the same amount of time, right? Riley gets dropped off at school at at her time, her start time, and then pick her up in the afternoon. And my wife comes home shortly after that. So that's kind of like so like that's my 6 hour, 6 to 8 hour grind work, right? And it starts a little bit before Riley gets up. Most mornings I'm up, firing off emails, checking in on clients, requests, or like I have a planning app for my DJ business, so I'm checking in on the planning app to make sure that like we're on par with what we need to know based on the time that the event is and stuff like that. I'm on Wedding Wire and the Knot, so I'm looking at all of those inquiries and things like that. So I do a lot of stuff before Riley gets up. Then once she wakes up, we've got that 90 minutes together. Drop her off at school, come back, and that's usually when I get into the content side of things. So it's really big just making sure that like you have a schedule, right? Like make sure you have a schedule and stick to that schedule. Um, have a person that holds you accountable because the hardest I think, a lot of people think it's hard to go to work. I actually think the hardest thing is to work for yourself, right? Because like at any given time you could be like, yeah, I'll take care of it later. And then all of a sudden, it's due in an hour or something like that. So just holding yourself accountable, having someone else help you to stay accountable. That's really how that balance works. But typically I try to give myself office hours and stick to them. So like usually by 7 o'clock I'm out of here completely, then out there, with the girls. So some evenings earlier, some evenings are a little bit later, but we try to make sure that we keep these under control. So
Now you talk about like someone being able to, hold you accountable. And I would assume that Mrs. Dev, holds you accountable and kind of, keeps you motivated. How big of a factor has she played into just like your success? Obviously, being a DJ, running your own business there, and then obviously like content creation, just kind of being, your rock and support system in all of this.
yeah, so when I told her a couple years ago that I was like, hey, I think I'm gonna leave my job because I think, that I could make the same, if not more money at home. Um, she obviously, just like a lot of people, are going to be a little skeptical, right? Definitely going to be a little skeptical, but ultimately, it was great. She very much so understood just how much I needed that ability to change, just how much I needed that opportunity to be who I am, right? And so since that's happened, she's been instrumental. Is probably the best word I could use, right? Like it's absolutely necessary. And a lot of the things that you guys see and have been seeing me a part of wouldn't happen without her, right? So like yeah, she's definitely that rock in a hard place sometimes, because sometimes things just kind of come up and she's got to be the one to step up. But yeah, it's been great. She's been great.
Now, before this, a lot of people don't know is that you actually served in the army, right?
I did, yeah.
So kind of just talk about like that. Like what was the like, decision making behind like kind of going into the army and, what was that like for you, early in life?
Yeah, so my grandfather played a big part into that. So he was a Tuskegee Airman, and school just wasn't really my thing. Um, and since school wasn't really my thing, that kind of killed the NFL dream, right? Because it was like, well, I could try to keep playing ball or whatever, but I just knew school wasn't really my thing, right? So another option was to join the military. So that's what we did. That's what I did. I joined the military, and I'd be the first one to tell you I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I spent 7 years in the military, and I appreciate all 7 of those years. I spent a lot of time in Georgia, and then at Fort Benning, if any of you guys know that, I was an infantry soldier. And then later on in my career, I became a recruiter. That's how I kind of fell in love with the sales aspect. So I communicate so well, all those type of things. So yeah, I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about it. I know that it's obviously much different now, being that I'm, 15 years removed. It's a whole lot. It's a lot different in the military today than it was back then. But no, I loved it, man. It was great. It was great.
So what was one lesson that you learned in the military that applies, and has helped you in life, but not only life, but also content creation?
Being able to read a room and being able to be aware of your surroundings, right? Being able to read a room actually came from the military. It actually came from while in recruiting because sometimes when you're in hostile situations, you may not know that you're in hostile situations, but everybody's got a little bit of a tell or a give or whatever the case is. And so sometimes when you're in a hostile environment, being able to see those nonverbal cues, being able to see those little tendency differences, behavioral differences, that's helped me a lot in a lot of situations. That's number one. And then number two, being able to, communicate. Really, it's just communication is key. Communication is key even when it comes to content creation, because what's our goal? To tell a story, right? Like our goal, no matter what, is to always tell a story, whether it is in a highlight reel, whether it is while you're promoting a product, whether it is while you're promoting your show, while, any of those type of things, you're telling a story. And so being able to thoroughly communicate, and get to your point and purpose in a well structured manner, those are probably the two biggest ones.
What do you think the biggest keys are to telling a good story? Because I know that's something you've always been very in depth with, like when you make any YouTube videos or anything like that. And I know you've personally had this talk with me about making scripts and stuff like that. So, what do you think are some of the biggest keys and like tips and tricks for making a really good story when it comes to making a video or presenting something to someone?
The three keys to telling a good story are your personality, your hook, and your information, right? So, like, people are obviously already there because of you, but don't forget, sometimes we forget that as creators. So, always make sure your personality is shining through in everything that you do, because at the end of the day, that is the real life, visceral connection that we have with our communities that aren't able to be like right next to us, right? Because everybody's always watching through a screen, through a phone, through a tablet, or maybe just listening to you. And sometimes the way that you can relay your message, visually and or audibly, is all your personality, right? It's all your cadence. I can never do what Rowdy does, right? All of his BRE, all of his, I mean, we've seen it all with this kid, right? Like, and he's come a long way from when I first got introduced to Rowdy. We'll go with that. But like just the energy that you bring, right? Like the way that you go about things, I can't do that in that manner. But I bring my own energy in my own ways that's different, right? So like you just got to make sure that that's always portrayed in your storytelling. Number one. Number two is having a hook, right? Because we live in the TikTok world, right? So like people need to know within the first 15 seconds what it is that they're getting into. And if they don't know within those first 15 seconds, you can assure that they're not going to pay attention anymore, right? So you got to make sure that you have a good hook, and then you just have to make sure that your information is to the point, right? Like you don't have to fill it with a bunch of fluff. There is no need to be talking around in circles. Okay, LeBron James scored 47 points. I don't need to know that, LeBron James scored 47 points. On top of that, it was like 10 of them were inside the basket. He shot 7 3. Like, no, LeBron James scored 47 points. At the end of the day, that's the point that mattered, right? So just making sure that you deliver that information in a very deliberate manner, that is also engaging with your personality. Those are the three tips I'd give you for storytelling.
Yeah, I think that's really big. I think people need to know how to play to their strengths, right? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know how to play to their strengths, and that can help you overcome your weaknesses that you may have, right? Because we all have weaknesses. Nobody's perfect, right? We're not going to be perfect at everything. The phrase I like to use about me is, jack of all trades, master of none, because I really don't feel like I master no trades, but, I'm pretty good at a majority of them that I can overcome some weaknesses that I may have. So I think it's always
Hmm.
key to make sure you know what your weaknesses are and know how to kind of come up with your strengths to be able to overcome that.
Always. Yeah. Yeah.
So next, man, I want to get into you have made a lot of friendships in content creation, right? I know a lot of your closest friends now have come through content creation, and you're one of those people that I've seen probably make the most out of a lot of people that I know. I've made a few, but I have seen you make a lot, Dev. A lot of them have really become some of your closest friends. Even Finn being one of those because he got you to actually DJ at his wedding, which I thought was the coolest thing that I've ever seen, honestly. And I know I've seen a lot of other people also, kind of make jokes, but also be like serious, like, "Hey, Dev, I need you to come DJ at my wedding." What's that been like for you being able to just make all these friendships, over the internet through something like Twitch and just YouTube and content creation?
Surreal. It's probably the best word I can give you, right? I've always been a people person, never been shy. That's why, like I said, recruiting was real easy for me. And then once I got out of recruiting, I went right into sales. Um, so people are cool to me, right? And I've always lived off. My dad told me, that you know there's nothing wrong with rubbing elbows, right? Like you never know who will take you down what path. Some of them will be good, some of them will be bad. But as long as you can weed out the bad faster than the good, then you'll always be all right. And so to me, I give everybody a chance. And I think, I'm genuine in that and people see that. And so it's a little bit I've had my fair share of bridges burned and things like that too, right? Like everybody makes mistakes or makes choices, I'll say, that don't always coincide with what we want. But no, man, it's been cool. I love everybody, right? Like until you give me a reason not to love you, like I love everybody. I'm gonna try to support everybody. I am of the mentality of there's plenty here for everybody to eat. So if I can help you get there, that's what I want to do, right? Because you're not hurting my plate and I'm not stealing from yours. Okay. So like that's kind of how I see it.
Dev ain't stealing from nobody's plate. That is a fact. One thing I
No.
learned about him. Dev will sometimes, honestly, he'll make sure he like if Dev sees an opportunity, he will make sure that you have that chance to eat. I can vouch for that 100%. Which some people they're always just worried about themselves and only themselves, but Dev is definitely not one of those people that I've met, and that's one of his best character traits, in my opinion.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, of course, man. What's been like the coolest moment for you to come out of like one of these friendships though? Like if you could name one, like what's the coolest like moment that you've had out of these friendships that you've built through content creation?
I mean, obviously being able to travel across the country for two weddings is probably at the top of the list, right? Like I got to go to the East Coast. I got to see New York because of the friendships that I built. Going to San Diego, so like we have our little crew. Me, Buffalo K, Rhino, Lauren, WKR, Shopmaster, myself, and my wife all went to TwitchCon San Diego last year. It's definitely up there. Had an absolute blast. And then, like you said, like met so many of these content creators that I'm friends with at TwitchCon. That was just really cool to just sit down and break bread with. So that's probably the one because I got to see so many different people and San Diego was freaking awesome. But I've been blessed. I've been blessed to have a couple different opportunities, right? Like I've done 3 weddings on the East Coast that have all come through different, friends through Twitch and being able to go to TwitchCon and house with those guys and meet a lot of people was definitely an awesome experience as well. So yeah.
So now you have a saying before you end your streams, right? 200%.
Yep.
You want to let the people know what 200% means?
Yeah, so it's 200%. If you live your life at 200%, you'll get what you want, right? So 100% of that is passion, another 100% of that is positivity. If you can go every day with 100% passion and 100% positivity, you will reap all the benefits you seek. Um, and I thoroughly believe that. Like thoroughly believe that because whenever I catch myself being on this woe is me, I also catch myself being very stagnant in my goals or stagnant in my like not just my goals but like the things that I need to just do, my responsibilities. I find myself stagnant. So the more that you decide to let negativity seek in and kind of just allow you to focus on what's already over, excuse me, you're just hindering yourself and slowing yourself down from what's to come. So the more passionate you stay about what it is that you have in front of you and the more positive you stay about achieving it, the faster you will in fact achieve it, and it's all good. So
So where did this mentality and this 200% saying coming from? Is it something you've always had, or was it something like you discovered like when you started content creation and you kind of just ran with it?
nah, it's before content creation. So I made some choices when I was a younger man. Um and I was like, I'm not going to allow that to define me. I'm not going to allow that to define who I am as a human being. And so the way that I allowed myself to not let that define me, and to keep my head up, and to continue to believe that people will see me for who I really am and not the choices that I made. That's how I that's how I came about that, right? So I had to stay passionate about myself and about what it was that I wanted, in my life, and then also stay positive, because you're always going to run up against some haters. You're always going to run up against some people who are just so miserable that their only job in life is to try to make you as miserable as they are. Yeah, you got to screw all those type of people. Stay positive about what it is that you want, what it is that who you are, and things like that. So now it stemmed from keeping myself from becoming a statistic in America, right? A statistic in Chicago. So that's really where it stemmed from.
What's been your biggest keys, just developing this positivity mindset and just always, trying to fight the negative thoughts and, mentalities and stuff like that that comes about in life for, I feel like almost anyone, right? Like everyone always has those bad days and the days where you just don't feel like nothing's going right and that sometimes maybe you're the problem or you're the issue or it's not going to get better. What's been like your biggest keys in life for, overcoming all of that and just being able to try to stay on this positive mindset?
That's a great question. It ain't always easy, but probably the biggest key is surrounding yourself with a good circle, right? So I have I mean, obviously, like you said, I've made plenty of friends online, but I have a really good like core of friends that and it's small, right? It's like 4 or 5 of them. That's it. Um, and we've been friends for decades at this point, right? Like we became friends. Some of us have been friends since like 8th grade. Some of us have been friends, obviously, since like into high school or whatever. But we've been friends for a very long time. Um, and music, music. Whenever I'm in a bad mindset, or I feel like I'm in a bad mindset, or I'm drifting, I use music to help kind of balance myself out. um, and so you just throw on whatever that playlist that's gonna help you make you dance or whatever, and just kind of, you know, crank it up to 11 for 10, 15 minutes and just dance it out, shake it out, do something, whatever that is for you. Maybe it's, you sit down and write for 10 minutes. Maybe, some people are writers and they just write out that negativity. Some people are, dancers, some people are singers, whatever it is, right? Like 10, 15 minutes of me doing some karaoke, I'm back to a good mood. You know what I'm saying? Like you won't never see it because it's real bad, but 10 to 15 minutes of some solid karaoke in the kitchen or whatever. So it's just making sure you have to be in tune with yourself and understand that again, like being positive is harder than being negative. Okay. And I know that sounds crazy because takes like 6 muscles to smile, but it takes like 32 muscles to frown or whatever the phrase is. But it's easy to fall into that. I'm not good enough. Why would anybody watch? Why does anybody care what I have to say when I can see somebody else is saying, how am I different? You are different. And that's the whole point, right? Like you are different. You're not any different on a piece of paper to a corporate job that just needs somebody who can just do this billing and coding. Sure. But when you step behind this camera, when you step behind this microphone, you are a vastly and extremely different. And that is something that you need to remember, that you are original. You don't have to work for it, right? You don't have to work to find that value like you do in corporate America. In content, you are your brand. And so take pride in knowing that you are you, and then just be authentic about it. Um, and so just take them 10 to 15 minutes, do that little happy dance, throw on that playlist, whatever it is that you need to do, shake it off. But there's nothing easy about it. This is a short, small, very quick answer. But you just do whatever that thing is that makes you happy. Maybe it's get a cookie, maybe it's buy an ice cream cone, whatever. Take a drive, but just make sure you put it within a time limit and then get yourself locked back in and get back to work.
I love that. With you saying about karaoke, right? I gotta know, what's the go to karaoke song for Dev?
um, there's a song by Casey and JoJo. It's called All My Life. That's probably the one, right? I love singing that song. Sometimes it makes me a little emotional. But that's the one. That's the one. I always tell people that I was the black member of NSYNC that they just didn't want to put on, the album. There's a ton of NSYNC that I would that I can definitely belt out as if like I'm their sixth member. So it's all good. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah.
What's your favorite song from them?
NSYNC?
Yeah.
It's a Christmas song. It's actually a Christmas song. My
Really?
favorite NSYNC song is the first Noel by NSYNC. Yeah.
That's interesting. I was not expecting you to say a Christmas song.
I
That is not what I was
love Christmas
expecting.
music. Yeah, I love Christmas music. It's the best time of the year for sure. Love it. So
Okay. All right. I'm getting down with it. Okay. I like the karaoke option. No, I'm pretty good on the karaoke machine myself. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I mean, don't get it twisted. My wife will tell you that I'm not. The only reason why I'm not good at karaoke is because I don't know the words. So everything is a remix. It's a DJ Dirty Dev remix in our house because I don't really be knowing the actual lyrics. I just sing what I want to sing. But yeah, so but if you give me the words, you know what I'm saying? And Apple Music, shout out Apple Music. Now they got the lyrics. You know what I'm saying? That instead of just like watching whatever, the album art or whatever, now you can watch the lyrics like karaoke. So I'm learning the songs now. So my wife is much happier when I sing the right words.
I love that. So now we talked about like all this stuff with music and you being a DJ. What is your like dream ultimate goal with the DJ business, right? Like when you envision it, let's say like 10, 15 years from now, like what is your ultimate end goal for the DJ business and like, what you do with it?
To just continue to put smiles on people's faces. If I'm being dead honest, like I am at my goal. I'm at my peak right now, right? Like I am busy enough to where I am able to still have a very amazing relationship with my family, still not miss any of Riley's events, right? I'm still a part of the PTO and all that stuff for her. But on Saturdays, Sundays, and some Friday evenings, I'm out of the house, right? But I'm right there right now, and I'm not trying to whatever. There's no nice way to make me sound like I'm not, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I don't know. I can't think of the word, but I'm there, right? If I can just maintain this for the next 5 to 10 years, exactly what I've got in my business, I will be very happy, very happy. So,
So like how did you get into the DJ business, right? Like did you have a friend that was like involved in it or did you just be like, man, I'll just buy it seems like something I could be good at?
so the DJ business actually found me. Um, So the story goes like this. Yes, I do have a very good friend, family friend. I DJ. He had a small, intimate wedding in his backyard. Decided at the last minute, like, hey, would be cool if we had some music. And I was like, yo, like, I can bring over some stuff and like, get down with the get down. So I did that per DM, right? Was just doing a favor, helping him out, whatever. Word got out that I had done that. And so then someone else was like, hey, will you do my wedding? Sure. This time I charged a little bit of money, right? And it just kind of snowballed from there. And so my first 40, 50 events were all word of mouth. I was doing no advertising, no like very small social media presence. And that was just because this was before Riley was here. Kels used to come with me to events and would take pictures. So I just started an Instagram and would just kind of throw up pictures from my events and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden people were hitting me up on Instagram. And then obviously we grew into where we are today. And we're on Wedding Wire and The Knot and all of that good jazz. But um, yeah, I knew I DJ'd, right? I DJ'd as a hobby. Just me and my cousin used to go spin or whatever. Like I said, I love music, but no, it was never a plan. It was never a plan. It just, I'm blessed that I did the right things, and I gave people the good performances and things like that, and they loved me so much that they told any of their friends that they knew that were getting married, like, hey, you need to go work with Dev. And yeah, that's where we're at. I still would say my business right now is still 50-50, right? Like 50% of it comes from like Wedding Wire and The Knot, and 50% of it comes from word of mouth. So
Nah, that's amazing. Now you said it wasn't your plan, right? What was your plan to like always try to go to the NFL when you were growing up as a kid? Was that like your dream like job thing was to go play in the NFL?
you see
Go.
these shoulders? You see these shoulders? They were built. They were built to wear pads. Nah, man. Yeah, for real. I played you know what's crazy is like I actually didn't play organized football until 8th grade. So I lived in a not so great suburb of Illinois, and so like football wasn't really, after school athletics period wasn't really a thing. Um and so I still watched or whatever, avid fan, loved the sport. It wasn't until we moved to Indiana. So we moved from Chicago to Northwest Indiana when I was going into the 8th grade. Um, and I saw tryouts and I went and tried out for 8th grade football, made the team as a running back. I was so damn fast and so damn good that I had my own play. It was called the Johnson Reverse. Literally would go into the huddle, call the Johnson Reverse. I knew what I needed to do, scored every time they gave me the ball. It was beautiful, wonderful. Went to high school and was that dude, right? Like I had a growth spurt, but I was still fast, hands soft as butter. So I just moved from running back to wide receiver slash tight end. Um, and we was putting up numbers. We was having fun. But unfortunately, school wasn't as fun as football. So, academically, I just couldn't, academically, I didn't have the same pace as I did athletically. And so when I got out of school, I was in the military. I played semi-pro ball for a couple of years, and then when I came back up from Georgia, back to Indiana, Chicagoland area, they had tryouts for the Chicago Rush, and I would have walked on the Chicago Rush if the AFL hadn't have folded that year. So the year that the AFL folded, the Chicago Rush folded, and everybody, I had actually earned a walk-on spot, but never got a chance to play a snap. So, and now I'm too old. So, and I messed around and kept playing flag football, tried to impress my now wife playing flag football, trying to tell her because she didn't get to see none of the glory days, messed around and tore my goddamn meniscus playing fucking flag football. I'm so mad about that.
You thought we were trying to impress your wife. You was like,
Boy,
you
hey,
was like,
man, look. I was like, oh yeah, you didn't see it. Let me show you. You know what I'm saying? Late 20s, early, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking like I was like, shoot, 27, 28 or something like that. And might even been later than that. Might have been 29 actually, because we had Riley when I was 30. And so so it would have been 28. 28 out there in the summer league playing in two different leagues, played in the co-ed league with her and then played in the all men's competitive league, as they call it. Messed around, went up, caught the ball, knew right away as soon as I came down, something wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? As soon as I landed. And she looking at me like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm good. I was not good. I was not good. Had to have surgery on it. Had to have surgery. They had to repair it. So, but I had to get it done before Riley came around. Once I found out Kels was pregnant, then we went ahead and I got the surgery. So,
man, most people normally telling their kids, back in my day, I was like that. Nah, Dev said he was trying to tell his wife, like, listen, back in my day, I was like that. He trying to show her off, and look, he done paid the price.
hey, she caught a couple of highlights before it happened. I ain't going front. She did. We was probably a good 3-4 weeks in the season. She caught a couple of highlights. We was out there. Couple one-handed paws in the air. Like, we was out there like that. But yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was so upset. Like, I played all this time getting my butt, you know what I'm saying, tackled hard as AF. I come out here on some damn flag. And that's when you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I popped my knee. I'm sick.
Non-contact injury got him, folks. You know what I'm saying? Them
Got
non-contacts.
me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man. So far,
But we're good now.
with everything with your content creation journey, right, and where you're at this point, is there anything that you would go back and change at any point, like anything you did, like you look back sometimes and be like, I could have done that differently?
Yeah. So I wish that I was more. I did a year where I didn't miss a day. Streamed every day for 365. I actually went more than 365. And if I were to go back, I would go back and not do that again. And reason being is when you are always available, you're always obtainable. Uh, you're not really, it's easy. Not to say that you're any less important, but it's easy to be like, oh, I didn't see him today. I'll see him tomorrow. Right. So it feels less like an event, right? Like we all tune in on Sundays because we know our team is only going to be seen on Sunday, right? We all tune in on Wednesdays because that new episode of SVU is only on Wednesdays. You know what I'm saying? Like even basketball, right? Like, and I think, and it took me a little while to think about it because in sports terms, what's the easiest sport to miss, but then not feel like you missing anything?
I'd say baseball.
Exactly. It is baseball because they play 100 and almost 200 games a year, right? Like they play almost 200 games a year. So if you miss 3-4 games, it don't matter because you can still see another 140 of them bad boys or whatever it is. And so the same thing kind of goes with this. That's why I've dialed it back a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm only streaming, 2-3 times a week, and I've got to step up, and I will in 2024. This year again was a little different. We had some stuff going on in the summer, and then a little bit of health stuff going on and whatever, little Miss Riley and everybody. So this year was a little tough, but 24, like that's my goal is like, you know what I'm saying, 3 times a week, but like it's going to be an event, right? Like we're going to have a shit ton of fun. And it's going to be like a thing. It's not just going to be like, oh, hey, Dev's here playing Spider-Man today. You know what I'm saying? Like that's fine, but like I want to make sure that I'm giving and doing more than just that. So I've got big audacious plans. My 24 is very big for me on the content side because like I mentioned, I got my business where I want it and it's on cruise control and that's exactly where it needs to be. Just stay just like that. So now the focus is content for 2024.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing is, making people want to be at your streams, right? If you're 7 days a week streaming, I'd say like 4 or 5 hours every day, people probably aren't gonna, really show up as much because they're gonna be like, well, he's on 4 to 5 hours, man. I can catch, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, whatever like that, right? They're not gonna be
Yep.
inclined to tune in. And it's just like that NFL thing you said, or just like your favorite show that only comes on once a week, right? Like someone's favorite show that comes on once a week, right? I remember like when The Flash was on, right? Every time, like when I was like, especially when I was in school, I was like, listen, man, I get home, I do my homework ASAP because I knew that Flash was gonna be coming on that night. And I was like, I ain't about to be stuck here doing my homework while I can't watch my favorite show. I made sure I knocked out my homework quick, so I was ready. When that new episode came on, I was ready. I ain't had nothing distracted me, and I could be there and I could watch it. And that was one of the tips that I got early on. Was someone was like, hey man, listen, this isn't like no like hate or anything like that, but like, have you thought about streaming less? I was like, streaming less? Like, like to me, I was like, I mean, I'm chilling, right? Like I'm this high energetic dude. What you mean stream less? And they're like, it's not because you don't, you ain't got it. It's if you're live every day, just like what you talked about, it's people are going to be less inclined to tune in, and it actually ends up hurting you a little bit more than it does helping, And so that was something that I learned early on, and it's kind of like this, like it doesn't feel backwards, but it kind of feels backwards a little bit to most people, like when you tell them that at first. But once you kind of explain it to people, then it clicks in their heads, They're like, okay, I get it.
Correct. Yeah. And so that's the thing, right? Like you have to make yourself um there's a word for it. I'm really bad with knowing words, right? Whenever I get it behind the mic, but like there's a word for it. But essentially what you want to do is you want to make it an event, right? Like you want to make yourself, your stream, your content an event. right? If you're giving them stuff the only way that I see you have success, like that I've personally seen as having success as an everyday streamer or an everyday content creator, not just a streamer, is you have to be educational. If you're not educational, I think you got to limit your appearances because and you got to limit your appearances and you need to do what you can to keep your overall presentation cutting edge. Those are the two biggest things that I've learned, right? Like just in my couple of years of being here, it's like if you want to be every day, you need to be educational. Not saying that like you got to be back here talking about some, A, B, C, D, but like, for instance, like Zan can pop on every day, be on for 2, 3, 4 hours playing Madden, but at the same time that he's playing Madden, he's teaching you about the game. He's teaching you about, how zone drops work, how this alignment will set up this thing, this crash will do this thing, I'm saying? Like he's teaching you at the same time that he's playing, right? Whereas, you have some other creators who are, once a week, twice a week, and it's a presentation. It's like, coming to watch the ESPYs every night, whenever they show up or whatever the case. And I think those, when you see people talk about like not having growth or this, that, and the other, and they're like, I'm going to start streaming more and longer, like you're going about it wrong. Like that's not just because you're more available doesn't mean that you're going to get any more. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not going to get any more just because you're more available. Does that make sense? Like, so you've got to find that nice balance of what works for you to where you can give your community their undivided attention because that's what they deserve for showing up and supporting you. But then also continuing to drive your content and your presentation in a direction that allows for people to want to continue to come back, when you do go live, and stuff like that. So
So, what would you say is the biggest tip that another creator has given you in your content creation journey? Because I think I always like hearing that, like, everyone always has like different, like the best tip that they've gotten that's helped them. What's been the biggest tip that you've gotten from another creator in your content creation journey?
plan your content. Because again, like if you just fire up and you're just winging it, there's no structure, uh, you're not really going to be as engaged, right? And you're not going to be as in control of your content as you would like, right? Like it's just like when I'm planning an event, right? I know what's going on during the reception. I know what's going on during the cocktail hour. I know how I want to do my introductions for when we are doing those bridal party introductions and things like that. And do the exact, and that's something that I'm going to bring forth in 2024 is like, I'm going to have more control over the content. And then that also allows you to be more engaging because now you can let your community know about your content versus just like you just show up and it's just whatever, right? Like, today I feel like, well, that's cool, but now you've got people that maybe came over because the last game that you played was Madden, and then today is GTA RP, and they don't want anything to do with GTA RP, right? And as quickly as you can create a community member, you can twice as quickly remove one by not, what I'm saying? Like, it really, people are very fickle. Just think about it yourself, right? Like, how fast are you going to go to a TV station if it tells you that they're playing the Lakers game, but then you get over there, there's no real reason why they're not playing the Lakers game, but they're playing, Mary Had a Little Lamb or something like that. You're gonna be like, well, what the? I'm never going back there again, right? Like, you see what I'm saying? So just being able to be engaged throughout and plan your content and keeping up with that schedule, and then that also helps you stay accountable with yourself and to your community. So that's probably the best advice I've been given.
Yeah, Mills was definitely talking about that. How when he started Variety, he was kind of just doing like it was like it was this game and then it was that game. And he said once he kind of started to have it more structured days, like today is, we're going to do this game, and on Tuesday we're going to do this game, and we're going to, start here and we're going to transition to this. He said he started to have a whole lot more success with that stuff, and that, like I said, it's all about that structure thing you were talking about. Where if people know what to expect, you're going to have a whole lot easier time keeping them than if they're showing up and they have no idea what's going to happen, right? And so I think
Facts.
that's been one of my biggest adjustments as well too. Is you're gonna get a party when you come here, right? But I also want you to know what's coming with the party, right? Like I want you to know the appetizers, and I want to let you know what the main course is gonna be when you come into the party with me, right? So I think that's the biggest key is just letting people know what they're in for when they're going to show up to your stream, letting them know what time, all that stuff, just having a structure. And I feel like it also just helps the creator too. Like you said, it helps you, be more focused and be more locked in, and it makes your job easier when trying to make content, because you know what you're going to be doing that day, instead of I'm winging it and I don't really know what I'm going to make content out of this or how I'm going to make content out of this that day.
Correct. Yeah. No, correct. Yeah. And that allows you to then um on the backside, you know what I'm saying? Like on the backside, you can then makes it easier for you to also plan and gauge your release for other platforms, right? It's like it just gives you so much more control, that then also allows you to be more in tune with everything, whether it's TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Hell, now you've got stories and better featured clips on Twitch now. So like whatever that is, it just allows you to also be in control, and you can keep that same cadence throughout. So then even if you don't necessarily get people to tune into the live stream, they know that every Wednesday night or every Thursday night or whatever it is, the Rowdy Hour is releasing on YouTube, right? Like all that type of stuff. So just keeping that cadence that allows people to give them to look forward to something, and then they're more likely to stick around and return. Just like our guy Bing on the 7th Street stream. See, yeah, it's because he knows.
Yeah, he does know. We love it. We love being around here.
Yeah.
Um, so if you could stream any game, right, in content creation, and make whatever amount of money that you would want to make, what would that game be? It can be any game.
GTA RP. I really need to get into the RP a little bit more. I was in it for a little bit, but then I fell out because I was in it with like the group that I had gotten into it with was Australian, like they were Australian, so like they were always on super late or super early in the morning. But then during like our regular awake time, they are not around. So I need to find more folks like you and like Lady K and some of these other GTA RP streamers. And I need to just stop, holding on, and I need to just go ahead and play during the day. Like I need to just fill out the form, get myself whitelisted, and play. But I think that's probably the number one. Because when I was in there, I had a lot of fun because you can get into some wild situations. So,
Yeah.
and it's just cool.
Oh yeah, no. GTRP for me has been like super fun because you just kind of, there's so much stuff that you can develop, and you can kind of almost create your own story in a sense. Um, just with interactions and stuff like that, and you have these arcs, and like you see these arcs develop, and then you see them end. And you can see a new arc develop with someone, and it's just like this. It's almost like a never-ending like TV show, like a movie, and I think that's the coolest thing for me, because you're seeing like all these different like shows go on at once, and then you all see it like come together at like the pinnacle and the climax, and you're like, that was a good ass movie, man. I had a
Yeah,
front row. I
facts.
had front row seat to that too. I ain't had to pay
Yeah,
nothing. Like you, like I got the
right,
front row seat. I got my popcorn. I'm chilling in my chair. I got to see that whole thing. Um,
right, right.
but yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I fully agree with you though. Like GTRP is a really great thing, and got a lot of reach
Yeah.
out there, and it's a lot of cool people you can meet, and it's just like a community, man. Like it's such a cool community, and just the friends that you can build and stuff like that. It's
I'm
full.
curious to see what they do with GTA 6, right? Because like Rockstar bought, 5M and all of that. So I am curious to see what the iteration of GTA Online looks like with GTA 6, but I am sure that it will be amazing, just like it is right now. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that'd be the one though, because I think it gives you the most versatility to literally do whatever you want for the day, right? Like you're not just locked in on like, oh, this game only allows me to do this. Like GTA RP,
It is what you make
you
of
live
it.
in a facts, you
You
live in a
make you
whole nother
make
life.
yeah, you literally. I mean, you get
Yeah.
to you make it what you want it to be, like it's all about how what you want to do that day and how you want to go about it. Um
Yeah.
so I want to ask you this. What's your future goals for content creation, right? Like I asked you earlier about your DJ business, 5 to 10 years from now, looking towards the future, where would you like to be in content creation and where would you like to have your channel and your brand as a whole be?
I beat myself up for a while there because I saw a lot of my peers that started when I started, um, get partnered and things like that. And I was like, damn, I'm not getting partnered. Like, what am I doing wrong? Um, but I then all of a sudden started getting afforded opportunities that, others were not. Um, and so I don't know. Right now, my three main goals are to create consistency because, as far as a consistency standpoint, this is the worst year ever since I've started. I would even say I was more consistent in my rookie year than I was this year, which is bad. Um, because I had a newborn and stuff. Like, yeah. So like my consistency is number one. Um, doing a better job of prioritizing it, right? Like prioritizing all of it, right? From the streams to the podcast to YouTube, all of it. And then I think number three is I want to learn something, right? Everything was cool a couple years ago when I was first starting because I was learning so much still. Once I stopped learning, like, it just kind of felt more like a chore and more like work, and I don't want that. So my goal is to continue to learn new skills, whether it be on the editing front or like widgets or how I can just add, like I said, learning on how I can expand on my overall presentation. Because the streams that I've been watching and like probably spend the most time in lately have been like presentation streams, right? Like a BB Jess or there's a chick named Meadow. Obviously our guy Mills, like his streams are presentations. So that's what I want to do. I want to do more than just what I've done. And that's so those are the three things, right? Like so consistency is number one, being consistent, setting a schedule, keeping it no matter what, right? Like that's why we've got the second CFM channel. If you're into that type of thing, we have that time for that. But like I'm gonna have that in the daytime slot that I'm gonna be consistent with. Because my kiddo's at school, my wife's at work, and I've got that quiet and stationary static. Um, increase my presentation and then continue to learn about it. So yeah, that's probably the best answer I can give you. That's the most honest answer I can give you.
Nah, it's what we're all about, man. It's all about honesty and just letting the folks kind of get to know like who you are, what your goals are, your ambition, and everything like that. It's what it's all about. Letting people learn, who is that dude Dev behind the camera, like what makes that dude Dev, who he is, and what makes him, pick and how he makes his content.
Gotcha.
Um, I just, you talked about, looking at your peers and, people you started with hitting partner and you kind of just started to like get that like self like doubt and stuff like what am I doing wrong? And that's something that I've struggled with as well. You look at like some people around you and it's like see some people like grow super quickly, right? And then you'll look at like how long you've been around and it's hard, man. It's hard to fight that like feeling because you'll be like, well, time tells me, the longer you've done this, you always expect the mountain to always just be going up, right? The graph, you would think would just always be going up and up and up, and it never goes down. And you'll see some people, and it's like year one, like the graph is like shot all the way up here, and like your graph is not where theirs is. And I think that, I've had a lot of people have this conversation with me, like, everyone's journey in this space is different, and I think that's the hardest thing, and I think that's something the biggest thing that a lot of creators need to learn is everyone's journey in this space is different, and, you're gonna get to where you wanna get to, right? It may not be as fast as this other guy, um, but, you'll get to where you're gonna get to, right? If you have what it takes and you have the talent and, you have the work ethic, you'll get there. And just because you're not there right now doesn't mean that you're any less of a content creator than anybody else. Everyone's circumstances are different. Everything, goes different for other people. Certain stuff happens for people quicker than others, but that doesn't mean that, you're any less talented or that, you're any less likely to ever reach that success. And I think that's the biggest thing for a lot of creators to learn because it's so hard, not to do that and look at someone and be like, they're here and I'm here, and maybe, it's a me problem. Maybe I'm not talented enough. Maybe my content isn't good enough. It's such a never ending, battle that everyone has to battle, I feel like, and deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, it was definitely something that was took a little bit of like self-evaluation. Um, because exactly what you said, right? Like everybody's got different blessings, right? Everybody's got different journeys. And their journey isn't any more impactful than my journey will be, and my journey is not any more impactful than your journey will be, right? Like at the end of the day, like I've said, from day one, is that there's plenty here, and you just control what you can control, right? Like and that's why I think I'm very big on like just going back to learning and elevating and continuing to advocate for my personality to be shown through um what am I trying to say? My personality to be shown through on all of my content, whether it be streaming, podcasting, YouTube, whatever. And so that's kind of where I'm at. So just never give up on yourself just because you see others doing other things. Because here's the thing, some people could blow up overnight and could also disappear in a week. You know what I mean? So like they could blow up overnight because they have one video go crazy, but then people actually start tuning in and they're like, what is this? Or, oh wow, you really were just a one trick pony or a one hit wonder. You know what I mean? And then in 2 weeks, there was nothing there. Whereas like someone like yourself or someone like myself could, continue that path and continue to put one foot in front of the other, and then it's not, you know, oh, I had 1,100 viewers tonight, but then I had 11 viewers tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's, oh, I've earned and built this trust and built these relationships and built this community of, you know, 800 people, and, 799 came back tomorrow. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, it's all about, setting yourself up for that success. And this is something that I kind of talked with Fend about on episode one, where, it's all about like setting yourself up for that success, right? And I've always said that's kind of where my head's at now, right? Is, whenever I do get that big opportunity or that big break, is it's about setting yourself up for when you get that chance, right? And making
you know,
sure that you can, take that chance and be able to make the most of it, because a lot of people get that big chance and they haven't, been preparing themselves for that moment, and when they get that moment it crumbles and it falls apart, and they might not ever get another moment, right? They might get another 300 of those moments, but you never know when that one moment's going to be, or if you'll never get another. So it's always about every single day trying to prepare yourself and putting in that work behind the scenes and making sure that you're prepared for when you get that big opportunity so you can make the most of it.
yeah, you said it the right way. Prepare yourself. Make sure that you're consistently doing the right things, because the phrase that I hate, I'll say it every once in a while, but the phrase that I loathe is fake it till you make it. No, you don't do that. Because the moment you start faking stuff, people are going to see right through that, right? Like they're going to see right through that. Be yourself, be authentic, be who you want to be from day one, and carry that on, because all energy attracts other energy. And if you go around attracting fake energy, Well, guess what you're more than likely gonna, if you're going around running around with fake energy, guess what you're more than likely gonna attract? A bunch of fake people, right? So as fast as they showed up is as fast as they're gonna bounce. Whereas if you're authentic and you're legit with yourself and your community and your audience on whatever, wherever, those are the ones that are gonna stick it out and stand by you and continue to talk good about you no matter where you're at and bring more people in and as well as yourself. You know what I mean? So yeah, just stay prepared. The best way that I could say it is, um, you know, work as if you already have it. That's what you want to do. Don't fake it till you make it, but work as if you already have it, right? So whatever it is, whatever that big, hairy, audacious goal is, you attack every day as if you already have it. So that way, when you get it, you already have been doing it. You know what I mean?
I actually like that. I haven't heard that piece of advice before. You know, you always heard like when you get on camera, act like you have 1,000, right? Act like you have 2,000, 100,000, whatever it is, right? You know, but hearing that as far as like putting in the work, as far as like wake up every day and act like you already have, type deal. I like that because that's a good approach to have. Make sure you're putting in that work, like you already have the 100,000, on that TikTok or that YouTube video. Um,
Hmm.
because if you're putting in that work, then when you actually do get there, it's not going to be a breeze obviously to maintain that, but you'll be like, well, I've already been doing this for however long I've been doing this, putting in that work, so it's not as overwhelming as it would have been if you wake up one day and you've got the 300,000 subscribers and you're like, and I ain't prepared for all this now. Like I ain't know it's gonna be like this. I ain't prepared to put in all this work and stuff like that. So
That's
yeah,
right. Yeah.
that's
Kobe and Mike practiced every night like it was for the game 7, right? And that's how you got to be. It's game 7 every single time you step up on this court. So, whatever that is, however that is for you, it's game 7, and you have to work every day like it's game 7. Jordan never saw a game 7, but he worked every day like there was going to be one. And that's what helped him not ever see one. You know what I'm saying?
well, I mean, I'll say,
So,
we can get a debate off camera about, what I'm saying. I ain't about to do all
LeBron's
that.
not better. It's okay.
I wasn't gonna say anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, it's fine. But Dev, I just want to say I appreciate you coming on here, man. Putting your knowledge, your positivity out there. You're one of the most positive people I've ever met. When I've had rough times in my content creation, and just personal things I've had happen in my life, you have been there. You've lifted me up when I've had rough days. So I appreciate you for doing that, man. You're one of the most positive people I've ever met. So like I said, keep on being that positive spirit out there for people, being lifting people up when they're down, man, because it is truly a gift. And I don't, mean that slightly at all. Like it really is a gift. Your ability to just stay positive, keep people uplifted through the rough times.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that for sure. As my guy The Rock would say, get to work. Right? If you get to work, you stay ready. You never got to get ready. Right? So just attack every day like you already have what it is that you're chasing. Be passionate about it. Stay positive about it, and I assure you, you will in fact get it. I assure you.
Well,
I
ladies,
appreciate you, Rowdy. I appreciate the Rowdy Hour. So I
hey,
appreciate you for
I'm
having
glad.
me
I
on.
like
And
I like doing this, man. Introduce new people to you. It's all about just helping other content creators out there. And, just helping people in general, right? Because I feel like there's a lot of life lessons that you can just learn through these rowdy hours that don't have to be applied to content creation. If you're not a content creator, I just hope that at least one person that watches each one of these rowdy hours learns something new, right? And it helps them in life. And if one person does, then the podcast has accomplished this goal. That's the goal of the
yeah,
podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is episode 6 of the Rowdy Hour. As always, you are beautiful. You are one of a kind. All right. Keep working hard out there. You will accomplish your goals. You just got to keep striving for greatness each and every day. And we will catch you on the next episode of the Rowdy Hour. Peace.